it's going to be hard to get some of these kids to come to Iowa.
That's exactly
frankly,
right. That's what I mean. It was no given that he was going to be able to turn this thing around. And I just cherish the fact that we now get to play in those games. We now get to play in those big games.
And not only we get to have these conversations like, that's what I was saying, don't talk about, Texas or Bama or don't get into, who needs to win X and Y. That's kind of something they say don't talk about. But I'm like, hey, you know what? Talk about it. Because when do we get to have a conversation like, we need this person to lose, this team to lose, and that team to lose, and we're in the national championship.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's
like,
right.
It's granted it's pie in the sky, but it's going on week 10.
And don't take it for granted. Certainly don't take it for granted.
Absolutely don't take it for granted.
It doesn't come along very often.
It doesn't come along very often. So it's like, it's like we don't win out and that's over. But at the same time, we don't win out. All that talk is done too. All your chances to talk about that is done too. Now, normally we can talk about national champions for like the first 2 weeks of the season.
Well,
and then pretty much we're not going to be talking about that.
There's a reason that you and I are such big Hawk fans. I believe people that are our age, we got hooked on the Hawkeyes when we were little. And the reason for that, if you think about it, my first memory as a Hawk fan, I'm 35 years old, my first memory as a Hawk fan was the Final Four run of Lute Olson's basketball team.
Who was just at the game,
79-80. That is my first memory as a Hawk. I just remember this. I would have been 6 years old.
5, 6,
I remember this excitement around the town. It was Hawkeye
There was
fever.
excitement. There was excitement.
And you couldn't help but get carried away. Well, then what happens just a year or two later? We have Hayden Fry's run to the Rose Bowl, and I will never forget it. And I believe
it's funny because just along that same line, just to interrupt you for 1 second. One of my earliest memories is that my old man actually drove me out. We went out to the airport when they came back. That Final Four team came back, and I just remember that cold, and being a small guy, and just a massive crowd of people out there, and couldn't really see him that well, but could see everybody started cheering when they got off the plane, and so what a great.
But that's what I see happening now, and that's what's so fun is to see this community and to see kids in the community getting so excited because of what this team is doing.
The kids in this town are going nuts. Not just the college kids, but the little kids. They're out there at recess. They're playing football. You see the kids in the street throwing around the football. And for them to be, into it and have somebody to cheer for, it really does lift up the whole town. It's a beautiful thing.
I hear kids on Monday morning say, "Did you see the Hawk game? Did you see the Hawk game?" They're
making
into pictures, say 8-0, 9-0, and they're posting these on their lockers at our school, and that is wonderful.
It's beautiful.
To see. It's a new generation of.
It's a new generation, absolutely, and hats off to Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeye team.
Oh.
Okay, now we're going to go to a segment we're going to have weekly, and we got a buddy named Skeevy. He lives out in Denver, Colorado, and so what he does every week is he goes into and he watches the game, usually at that Denver Sports Column, which is a huge Hawk bar. A lot of Hawk fans fill up, so that's a lot of fun for him every week. And what he's going to do is he's going to kind of give us a scouting report. We're calling it Skeevy's Keys to the Game. So let's get him on the line. Hello, Skeevy.
Hello.
Hello, Skeevy.
How you doing, Johnny?
I'm hanging in there.
How you doing, Skeev?
Not too bad, not too bad.
What's the weather like in Denver? I heard you got some snow out there. They got 2 feet of snow.
You're kidding me.
It's pretty much all gone now.
All melted?
All melted.
So, Skeevy, tell me about the past few games at that big Hawk place. How have they been reacting out there?
Well, it's been crazy. There's like 200 people there, and everybody sits there on the end of their seat and goes crazy in the end.
Skeevy, how have you held up personally over these past couple of weeks?
I have come to accept the fact that we are going to be behind and going to have to come back and win it every time.
That's not bad. And if you remember, because I remember you called me at halftime this past game, and you were a little bit excited, but I said, you know what? We got them right where we want them. As always,
I was excited just for the fact that, they weren't playing well, but...
Right, yeah. I mean, to your credit, you very quickly came around. I mean, you were like, you agreed, and, like I was saying to my folks, how many times we got to watch this game? I've seen this game 8 times. We've read the script. We know what happens. The Hawks win in the end.
That's right.
Well, Skeevy, it's time to turn the page and look at the Northwestern Wildcats. This is a game, like we've been talking about. There's really no reason to expect it to be any different. Every game has been an absolute battle. What do you think?
Well, from Indiana is a perfect example. You know, they came out and just moved the ball right down the field, and our defense is just going to have to adjust a lot quicker. And, of course, our offense is going to have to not take 3 quarters to figure out what they're doing.
Well, Skeevy, speaking of which, you know, it seems to me like, you know, when the defense, it seems like they've gone through this process, and what they do is what I call cracking the code. You know, and I think they've done this every game. They come out, they throw the kitchen sink at us, the way Indiana did. They're going to throw everything you can at you. The defense weathers the storm, and then it seems like maybe it usually happens either at the end of the second quarter, maybe beginning of the third quarter. They crack the code, and that team is just done. I mean, I've seen that happen time and time again, and it's just a beautiful thing to see because they just – and the other thing about the defense is that, you know, they don't get winded. I don't know what those guys do or what you know what kind of power drinks they drink, but they just don't get winded. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They just do not – they just go, go, go.
I think they're almost feeding off of this notion I read in the paper this morning that they like to think of it as putting out the fire and that they don't care how the fire started. They're going to go like the firemen and they're going to put out the fire.
Nice.
And I think they're almost feeding on that. It's almost like, go ahead, you know, start on the 5-yard line. We don't care. We're going to come in and stop you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, once they ratchet up that intensity, they're pretty much done. Skeevy, what do you think? What do you think our chances are this weekend? How do you see the game unfolding?
I think we're going to win.
Absolutely.
It's going to be very similar to Indiana.
So you think kind of a higher scoring game?
It's going to, you know, it's going to be that process where the defense is going to take, you know, they're going to have to figure out what exactly Northwestern is trying to do to us, and once they make those adjustments, they'll take over.
What would you like to see on offense? What kind of plays do you think are going to be successful?
I think they need to. What Iowa did against Indiana was they just immediately tried to start throwing the ball downfield. And Stanzi works so much better when you get him out of the pocket and you throw those little 10-yard passes to those receivers running across the field and let them do all the work.
Yeah, I like that. Like Stroh, kind of middle, and then just let them go.
And their running game has been so bad early on. They really need to do something to be more effective early on in the game, which will in turn help that passing game.
All right, Skeevy, you got a prediction on the score?
Ooh, prediction on the score. I'm going to say Iowa wins it 35-21.
That's nice. I like that. John, you got anything else you want to say, Skeevy?
Well, you know, Skeevy, it's sure good to talk to you.
Yeah, we love you, Skeevy.
You guys too.
All right, say hi to everybody in Denver for us, okay?
Will do.
Go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks.
All right, bye-bye, buddy. Skeevy.
Well, that was sure a treat to get to talk to our good friend Skeevy.
You know, he was talking to me earlier, and he was going to record that Northwestern game. Okay, he had his little player all set up, his little electronic equipment at his house, all set up, ready to record that game. What happens when he comes back from the bar to watch the tape? Mysteriously, there was some kind of glitch with his system, and didn't get the game. Didn't get the game. You know, and it's funny because it's the first show, but I see right now we have another caller that somebody's called in, and it looks like they're going by the moniker Mind of Hawk Evil. I don't know what that is, but let's see.
Kind of a funny name.
I'll hit that. Mind of Hawk Evil, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
This is Roland I. Mind of Hawk Evil.
I think we're getting some type of a funny electronic thing. We're not able to hear you, caller.
Is that the call or is that the phone? Uh-oh.
Goodness. I'm afraid we're a little new at this.
Yeah, this is the first show. There's just some bugs apparently. I don't know.
There's something wrong with the speakerphone feature, and we'll have to get that straightened out.
Yeah.
We would certainly be interested in taking your calls.
All right. Well, Mind of Hawk Evil, we're going to have to...
Please, make that stop.
Yeah, okay. We're going to have to go ahead and stop you there, buddy.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's...
Wow,
I don't know what that was about.
I certainly don't know what that was either.
I don't know.